And we are back, y'all. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you find yourselves. All right, now, welcome back. Hope you had a great Monday, had a great weekend, and are ready to be here. So I am in the middle of New Year, New You. Actually, we're at the beginning, right? So this is our third week in this new series, New Year, New You, where I attempt to help our adults with type 2 diabetes decrease their medication, cut their medication, get rid of their medication, and put their diabetes in remission. That's our goal, y'all. That's what we're working on, and that's where we're heading. We talked at the end of last year about this war that we are in for our health. We talked about what we need to do, the first steps, right? That was our very first show. What are the first steps you need to do to get ready to be on this journey? Last week, we talked about fasting, the one tool, right? The first tool that we are using in this war, in this fight to put our diabetes in remission. And over the course of the past week, you've watched me, right? I've come on live. We've done the check-ins, right? The 72-hour fast that we did so that you can see what the blood sugars do and what the results are that you can get. Some of you right now, even by doing the fast, are able to get off of some of your medication. And tonight in this show, we're going to answer the question, what diabetes medications can I really get off of? That's where we're heading tonight. So I'm glad that you're here. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, y'all, new year, new you. Welcome. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the chat, in the comments, because we'd love to say hello and give you a hand clap. And so that you know that we really appreciate you here in this space. If you're out there right now, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and hop on, say hello, right? Because I want this to be an interactive process, right? We are building a community here on the channel, here in our social media arena. So you may be watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or wherever you want, or here on YouTube, right? Wherever you're watching from, glad that you are here. Go ahead and say hello. Let us know that you are here, and we will engage with you. And we've got some stuff that we need to talk about tonight. I'm going to show you right now. I've got my meter set up, right? We're going to check our ketones. We're going to check our blood sugar. I have on my phone, I was going to show it to you, but I don't want to give it away. I've got my Dexcom. I have my Freestyle Libre here as well. And that's just some of the numbers. And we're going to pull up here while we're watching what the blood sugars have been doing over the last couple of days since I broke the fast. And that was Saturday. Right. We did a sort of a 36, 48 hour check-in so you could see where we were. And so now we're going on. My next fast is coming up in just a couple of days. So actually tomorrow night, we're gonna begin starting that fast. And so you get to kind of watch me do that again. All right. But tonight we're talking about what diabetes medications can I stop? We'll come back here in just a minute. Hey, I see somebody out there, Mr. Riley West Side. Said I'm not new, but I'm on the West Side. Hey, y'all! If you saw one of our social media shorts and on TikTok, on Twitter, and Facebook, I was able to get out to California and meet up with my man James Riley. Hey, man, I'm glad I was able to do that. Thanks for hopping on tonight. Good to see you here. All right, so we're talking about diabetes, and I want you to hear me. I'm zeroing in on the adult with type 2 diabetes, and our goal is we've got 12 months. We're heading right. So this is not okay. We're going to do this for 2-3 weeks, but we've got a year, 12 months that we're working on this. And as we come on, we're going to be focusing in laser sharp on what are the things that we need to do to help you achieve the goal. And so what is the goal, y'all? The goal is by the end of the year that some of you are going to be off of diabetes medications. Some of you are going to cut your diabetes medications significantly. And I'm going to propose a percentage here before we end the show tonight. And some of you, right, you are in the first throes. You're in the steps of putting your diabetes in remission, because this year, new year, new you, new year, new you, right? So that's where we're going. All right. So let's hop to it, y'all. Let's hop to it. So if we think about diabetes, right, I want to pull up. All right. So that's the flyer that you guys saw. That's the flyer that you guys saw, right? That's a funny looking fella, funny looking guy. But anyway, when we think about diabetes, this is the treatment algorithm. And I put this up for you simply so that you can understand the intricacies of what we've done to the treatment of diabetes. I want you to see the extent that we've gone to try to fix this problem that seems to be unfixable. Why do I say seems to be unfixable? Well, you've heard me say the numbers that in the United States alone, there are 37 million people with type 2 diabetes. Around the world, between 430 and 460 million people, almost 500 million people on the planet with diabetes. And the numbers continue to grow. Now, you're standing out there, or you're sitting out there, and you're saying, hey, Dr. Woode, well, thank you for talking to the diabetics, but that has nothing to do with me. Well, listen up here for a minute. In the United States alone, there are over 88 now, million people who are pre-diabetic. That is, people who have blood sugars that are higher than normal, but not quite where it needs to be for them to be classified as diabetic. But they're heading there. And the things that we talk about here in terms of putting diabetes in remission, decreasing the amount of medication people are taking, the very same things that we do here are the things that prevent people from progressing to diabetes if they're pre-diabetic, things that help people deal with their metabolic syndrome, things that help people deal with their coronary artery disease, decrease their risk for high cholesterol, decrease their risk for high blood pressure, decrease their risk for strokes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, obesity, and on and on and on. So while we're talking to the diabetic specifically, the people that are surrounding diabetics, those are the folks that get, a lot of benefit as well. Okay. So a lot of people. And so as we've talked about the treatment for diabetes, we continue to become more and more and more complicated. As you know, our plan for diabetes is a simple one. Our plan for diabetes is a simple one. It is, 1, decrease our insulin. And that is whether exogenous, that's insulin that we're taking in, or endogenous, that's insulin that the body is making. And tonight we're going to talk about one of those places where the body is making insulin and how we can decrease that. So that's number 1. How do we decrease the insulin? Because remember, the insulin itself, while it is beneficial, and I had a conversation in the office today with someone, and I was saying to them, if you walk into the office and I say to you, hey, I'm putting you on insulin, I want you to understand that the reason we're putting you on insulin is because your numbers are of such, they're so out of control that we've got to plug the dam, y'all. Right? We got to stop the leakage. We got to stop the boat from sinking before we even talk about anything else. So when you're talking to your doctor and your doctor is putting you on medication, right? They're not putting you on medication simply because they want to get you on medication. It's like, we've got to do something now. It's like if you walk into your house and there's water coming out of your wall, You got to do something. You can't like, well, I guess I'll figure out where that's coming from here in a minute. Let me go put up these groceries. No, right now, let's figure out, let's stop it. We'll figure it out later. Let's stop the water from coming through the wall. Let's stop the ship from sinking. I could not do what I do on a daily basis without medication. Sometimes people walk into, well, let me say sometimes. Let me tell you, I went to the hospital recently to see a patient. And they were in the ICU. Their blood sugars were 1,545, I think. 1,545, 1,543, y'all. I want you to hear that number. A normal blood sugar goes anywhere from 70 to 99. That's a normal blood sugar. A diabetic, we tell them that their blood sugar, if you read the guidelines, they say anyway, you should be from 70 to 180, right? I've got a little narrow requirement. But those are numbers. But here's somebody whose blood sugar is 1,545, 1,543. Do you think for that patient, I should say to them, you know what? Yeah, go away. Come back later. Go exercise. Go drink some water. No. Right now, we got to stop it. Stop the ship from sinking. Okay? So that's the premise. That's the basis. That's the background. Because some of you are on medication, or some of you will walk into an office. Some of you will come to my office. Some of you will come to get a consult with me, and I will say to you, you have got to get on some medication. And you'll say to me, like people say, well, I thought you want to get me off. I say, yes, I want to get you off. But right now, we got to save you. Right, we got to do something at this moment, right now. Okay? All right. So, and hey, I see my man Gary Jones. Hey, Gary, he says, greeting, doc. Implementing this information will lead to transformation. Come on, man. You got it. Let me pop. I'll give Gary some claps and some noise there. Okay. Oh, let me do one thing before I go on, so that you guys can be having this in your mind. So right now I'm going to pop up so you could see, this is what my glucose meter is showing. This is the Libre. My blood sugar is 120. And the Dexcom shows that my blood sugar is 136, right? So that's where it is right now. We'll come back later and we'll actually do, not that one. We'll actually do the glucose meter here, and we'll check my ketones, right? Check my ketones so that we can see what those are. All right. But back to our conversation. So our first goal in the process of putting our diabetes in remission is, how do we deal with insulin? And that is insulin that the body's making, or insulin that we are giving. Okay? So, as you're aware, the blood is flowing through the body. And in the blood, there's a lot of different components. There's white cells, there's red cells, there are platelets. You've got some viruses that have attached themselves to cells. You've got cholesterol. So many different things that are flowing in the blood. And one of the things that's in there is the insulin. And insulin is that little guy that you just saw that popped up and dropped on the little cauliflower, shamrock. Is that shamrock? The green thing, the leprechaun thing. Right. That attach to the receptor. Right. So right here, you'll see that little thing that's floating by. It attaches to the receptor. And when it attaches to the receptor, I want you to watch the little white ball. That little white ball, that's sugar. Right. So the little flowery looking thing is insulin. And the little white ball that's coming down, that's sugar. And so once the insulin attaches to the receptor, then the sugar gets brought into the cell. Boom, there you go. You see that? So that's the process. It's floating around in the blood. It attaches to the receptor. That's the insulin. And once it attaches to the receptor, then the sugar gets brought into the cell. Now, here's a question. And I heard someone pose this question. Doesn't really come from me, because as we have been trained as physicians, we were trained on what's called the lock and key model. And you guys have heard me talk about the lock and key model here before. The lock and key model says that there is a key insulin that opens a lock, which is your cell. And once the lock is open, then the sugar goes in. And we've said that the reason that things don't work is, for some reason, either the lock is clogged up or the key is not working well. Right? So the body continues to make more and more and more and more insulin. And that's this concept that we call insulin resistance. And that's an amazing concept, because it's helped us actually treat a lot of people who have diabetes. And there are a lot of people who were treated with insulin, a lot of people who are currently surviving because of insulin. Type 1 diabetics need insulin. They can't live without it. Okay, so insulin, great thing. But insulin causes some other issues. And tonight we want to talk about how do we deal with insulin. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to decrease the amount of insulin in our body. And if we're going to do that, the body produces insulin as a response to high blood sugars. The body produces insulin in a response to high blood sugars, or blood sugars that are rising. So if you're diabetic, right? And I'm going to let me pick on myself, right? If I'm diabetic and I eat my very favorite ice cream, Cherry Garcia from Ben & Jerry's, I have no allegiance to these guys. I just know they make an amazing ice cream. Okay. So when I eat that ice cream, my blood sugars rise. And when my blood sugars rise, then my insulin rises to try to bring it down, right? So that's what that video was showing, that the sugar is out there and the insulin is flowing through the blood, and the insulin comes and attaches to the cell. And when it attaches to the cell, then the sugar is brought into the cell. So the body produces insulin to try to lower sugar. If you're a non-diabetic, the same process happens. And the more and more and more the body has to deal with sugar, right? So you're putting on weight. You're eating more and more sugar. You're eating more and more carbs. Then the body has to increase the amount of insulin that it makes to compensate for the fact that it has to get more sugar into the system. It's kind of like, if you have 10 friends, right? You're on your college campus, or you're at church, or you're somewhere, and you got 10 friends and you got a truck. Maybe 10 people can hop into the truck and go wherever you guys are going. But now if you do 20 people, maybe you got to get another truck. You got to get somebody else to bring another truck. And if we got 30 or 40 or 50 people, the more people, which represents sugar, the more people we have, the more trucks we've got to get. And so that's been the idea that we've used before, right? Well, so here's a concept. So my man James Riley's out there. And when I was going out to California, I packed a suitcase, right? Because we're getting ready to go out there, and we're getting ready to hang out with family. We're going to see some ball games. And I put all this stuff in my suitcase. And somebody else in my house said, hey, I got some stuff that won't fit in my suitcase. Can I put them in your suitcase? Well, if my suitcase is packed, I can open up the suitcase and I could put their stuff, or try to put their stuff in. But I literally have to sit on the suitcase now to try to close it, right? To get the stuff in there. And then if I try to put more stuff in there, I just can't get it in. So what if the reason the blood sugars are high is because there's already stuff in the suitcase? And we keep making more and more and more insulin to try to get it inside the suitcase. And we essentially force more things in. And that's equivalent to like getting, your suitcase is so packed now, you got to get an elephant to sit on it so you can close it. So that's what we've done. That's the model that we've used. And that's how we've treated diabetes for years and years and years and years. And we're finding now that, hey, we're having more and more trouble. Right? People are developing fatty liver because insulin is a storage hormone. So when you have those excess sugars, even if you're not diabetic, as you are eating more, the stuff you're eating has to go somewhere. And the hormone that treats that, we always talk about insulin as a blood sugar hormone, but insulin does some other stuff. When the body can't use the sugar, the excess sugar that comes from the carbs or whatever we've eaten, it goes to insulin and say, hey, insulin, what do you want me to do with this? And insulin say, I got an idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, I'm going to turn it into fat. And I'm going to take the fat, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to distribute it throughout the body. So notice what happened. I'm supposed to eat, and the food that I eat is supposed to go to run my brain and my heart and my kidneys and my lung and my muscles and all the stuff that I need right now. And then it's supposed to store a little of it for me to be able to use it later. Okay? That's good. But if I have excess beyond the ones I need right now and beyond what the body needs for other functioning and a little bit for storage, the rest of it gets turned into a bigger storage component. It's kind of like getting food at your house and you fill up the refrigerator, you fill up the pantry, and you're like, okay, what do we do with the rest of this? Right, at my house, sometimes what we do is we freeze stuff. Right, some people can things. Right, you go to their house and they've got, beans or whatever, tomatoes that they've canned 2 years ago. And that storage process, when the body is storing the excess, that gets put into the liver. Now we develop non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That gets put into muscles. We get myositis. That gets put into the pancreas. And we start to damage the pancreas. And then we say, hey, the pancreas is not producing enough insulin, so now I'm diabetic. Well, the pancreas didn't produce enough insulin because you stuffed stuff in there that shouldn't be in there. Now we've got metabolic syndrome. Now we've got high blood pressure because insulin, right, the excess insulin, the excess energy that it has will cause blood sugars to go up. And when the blood sugars go up and when we are storing stuff, you know what that leads to? Yeah, it leads to obesity. We're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So all of that comes almost as a direct consequence of insulin. So our goal is always as little insulin as possible. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about getting off of the insulin you're taking for your diabetes. But right now, what I want to do is I want to hop over and we're going to talk about getting rid of some medication. Right. So this is the complication. This is where we are in terms of our understanding of diabetes and what we've done in terms of treatment. But in terms of medication, right, we've got a lot of different types of medications. We've got monotherapy, we've got dual therapy, triple therapy. You don't have to know all of that. But I want to get to some prescription medication, right? So we've got insulin, we've got non-insulin injectables, we've got and some oral medication. Tonight we're going to talk about insulin and the medications that produce insulin in the body. So the first thing that we want to get off of is we want to try to get off of as much insulin as possible. Now, you're going to ask me some questions here in a minute that I'm going to preface them by saying, you're going to ask me, okay, how do I get off of insulin if my blood sugars are high? And I want you to start thinking about what that means. So all the medications that we use for the management of diabetes, they touch now we've added a couple of things, one of 8 basic areas of the body, right? Either they touch number one, our gut, the GI tract, right? When we're digesting food. And this is where, that stuff that people talk about that the non-diabetics are using for weight loss, 1 and 2, that's where it is. That's why they work, right? Because that's where they hit, right? Number 3 on this diagram, right? Muscle cells. Muscle cells. So how do we get muscles to use sugar more efficiently or use insulin more efficiently? Number 4, the kidneys. Right? When you come back next week, we're actually going to talk about the kidneys, we're going to talk about the gut, and we're going to talk about that big belly. Right? And the brain, number 5. But one of the big culprits in diabetes is that guy right down there in number 6. That's the liver. The liver is like the workhorse, y'all. Because the body takes sugar, sends it to the liver. And when the liver gets too packed, because insulin stuffed it in there, then the liver says, with the insulin, they come together and they say, look, I can't take any more in here. Right? So now we have fatty liver disease. And the liver says to insulin, hey, you can keep pushing this in here, but I can't keep it. So I'm pumping it back out. That's where we get that term triglyceride, y'all. Yeah, buddy. Right? You starting to see it? So that stuff comes out. And then it goes and it gets stored into all of those other tissues that we talked about. Okay? All right. Hey, hold on. I got to do something here real quick. I just had to call my helpers because it's getting hot in here. So I could get somebody to do something for me real quick. All right? Because if I don't do something, that camera is going to go off. You guys may see a shadow. That's one of my helpers. Ooh. So it's freezing outside. And so I thought, hey, I don't want to be cold. I was in the audience of a show last night and the guy was freezing because his camera shut off because he was doing some stuff. Anyway, so here we are. The beauties of being live, y'all. All right. So the liver, right? One of the big guys that play in this whole thing. And then, of course, the pancreas, right? The pancreas can be poisoned by high sugar. It can be poisoned by those high triglycerides that's pumping out. So this is called the ominous octet. Didn't come up with this. A very, very smart fella proposed this. And so we've used it as a model for a very, very long time. But let's hop over and let's talk a little bit about medications. So there are 2 groups of medications that I want us to talk about specifically tonight. Those are the sulfonylureas. Those are the ones all the way to the right. So glipizide, glyburide, and glimepiride. And the DPP-4s, right? Januvia, Tradjenta, Onglyza. So I'm just calling the names that there are scientific names to them. We're not gonna play that game. And so the people who own those, I'm not talking about your drug in particular. I'm just talking about the classes. All right. The ones in the middle we're gonna skip for now. So the way that this is the DPP-4s. The way they work is they inhibit an enzyme that's in the body, right? And what it essentially does is it causes what's called glucose-dependent insulin release. Glucose-dependent insulin release. What does that mean? That means that you take the medication. Let me pop over to our diagram, our video again. You take the medication, and when the medication goes into your body, it sees sugar coming, and it forces your body to make insulin if it can. Right? So it sees sugar coming. You eat a cookie. The cookie gets broken down, and the white balls, the sugar shows up in the blood, and it makes those little flowery looking things come out of the pancreas, and they take sugar, they put it in the body or put it in the cell. Okay, that's how they work. So the mechanism for them is to produce insulin so that the insulin can then go decrease the sugar. Does that make sense? So glucose dependent. So it has to see the glucose coming first before it works, but it's in the body and it produces insulin. Right? So that's how the sulfonylureas work. The DPP4s. So how then do the sulfonylureas work? And the DPP4s, like I said, these are the names of them, right? So we're not talking about any specific brand, but these are representative ones of them. So how do the and we said we were going to skip those. How do the sulfonylureas work? Because we're going to come back and talk about those next week, by the way. The way they work is by what's called glucose independent. And this is where they cause more trouble than the previous class. Right? Glucose independent. That means then that they don't have to see sugar coming. They just go into your body, and it's kind of like having a faucet in your kitchen. And say you're sitting there, right? And you're in charge of the kitchen. Somebody brings a plate and you turn on the faucet and you wash the plate. And you turn the faucet back off because the plate's clean. Somebody else brings a plate. You turn the faucet on, you wash the plate, you turn it back off because the plate's clean. And you keep doing that. Every time you see a plate, you turn the faucet on and you wash the plate. That is what the previous class did. Those are the DPP4s. That is called glucose dependent. So because you have to see a plate coming before you turn the faucet on. Glucose independent means that you just turn the faucet on. So you don't wait for plates to come. So if somebody brings a plate, fine, the faucet's running. If nobody ever brings a plate, the faucet's still running. Now, the problem with both classes is that they force your body to make insulin. And we said that one of the things that we want to do is we want to decrease insulin, right? So if we're on a medication that's forcing the body to make insulin, right, that goes against what we're saying that we want to do. So that's the first thing. The additional problem with this second class is that you're always making insulin. So whether you're eating something that has sugar or not, the body is making the insulin. And we just said that insulin has some having an elevated insulin has some other ramifications. So it's one thing to have a high sugar and then have the insulin come. But it's another thing to not have a high sugar at all and have insulin come. And so this one is people are prone to have low blood sugar, so hypoglycemia. Right, we're cautious in this one when we talk about elderly people because they are already prone to have low blood sugars, and the reason for that is that they don't eat a lot sometimes, or they may be ill, or they may be having some other medical problem, and so they're not putting things in, they're not eating things, and if they're not eating, the blood sugar continues to drop and drop and drop until they run into trouble. Okay, so those are the glucose dependent, right? Glucose dependent. Those are the DPP4s, and glucose independent. And the guys that are in this class are glipizide, glyburide, and glimepiride. And I'm putting these names specifically because I want you, if you're out there or on any of these medications, I want you to be able to look at your prescriptions and say, okay, oh, that's the one that he talked about. Okay, so that's why I'm putting those names so that you can see those. All right. So what medications, what diabetes medications should we stop? These are they, right? So glipizide, glyburide, glimepiride. And then if we pop back, and let's run through, boom, boom, boom. And these guys. Now, you're asking me a question. Everybody's asking the same question. What if my blood sugars are high? Right? Isn't that what you're asking? I can hear it. What if the blood sugars are high? So if you're out there right now, I want you to type in the chat one way other than these medications that you can lower your blood sugar. Right, type it in the chat. So we've said that we don't want to use medications that are producing insulin in the body. What's one way that you can decrease the blood sugar so that we don't have to use a medication that's producing insulin? While we do that, here's our little, remember our logo? New year, new you, y'all. New year, new you. And y'all, look at that, my shirt, right? So that's our thing. And so I did not, hey, Teresa, welcome. She says, hi, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. Well, I'm glad that you're here, Teresa. Glad that you are here. So let's see. Teresa says, fasting with exercise. I love it. And then Gary says, decrease the amount of bread I enjoy. I love it, Gary. Decrease the intake. You guys are like top of the class, right? So the reason that we talked about fasting first is if, and you guys are very right? So I love that. I love those, right? So decreasing the amount of food, exercise. So remember, think about that suitcase, right? Think about the suitcase model, because we talked about two models. We talked about the lock and key, which is where the insulin can't open the door for some reason. And we talked about the fact that maybe the suitcase is just too packed. Okay, so let's go to the suitcase model. So if the suitcase is packed and you have one of three choices, right? Either you get a bigger suitcase, and that's the option that a lot of us choose, right? The cells keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, here's the thing. Do you know that the same number of fat cells that we're born with is the same number of fat cells that we keep throughout life? Now, so let me change that, because the politically correct people are going to get on me. So the adipose cells, right? Same number for fat cells. So the same number of adipose cells that we have, fat cells, that we're born with, it's the same number that we have right now. But I know you're out there, you're looking at me and saying, no, I have to have more than I was born with. Well, no, it's not. You don't have more. You just put more stuff in it. So that's what we've done. We got bigger suitcases, right? So either we can get a bigger suitcase, or we can take stuff out of the suitcase, or we can stop trying to put so much stuff in. Right? So when we were traveling, what we decided to do is, well, we actually tried because we took an extra bag with us to the airport. And when we got to the airport, we stopped, got to the back of the car, and we decided which of the things that we had extra we really needed to take. And we were able to whittle it down to just our carry-ons, right, and our one roller bag. But we were trying to get more suitcases. We were trying to take more suitcases with us, right? So you can get more suitcases, or you could take some stuff out, right? Say, hey, I'm going to take that out so I could put this other stuff in. Or you could say, the things that are not in the suitcase right now, I'm not even going to try to put them in. We leave those here. Now, it turned out when we got to California, there was something I should have taken with me, but that's a whole nother conversation, right? So exercise burns sugar. So we're actually hitting it by decreasing the sugar that's outside that we're trying to put into the suitcase when we exercise. When we fast, when we cut back on the bread, Gary, when we cut back on the things we're eating, we're decreasing the stuff we're trying to put into the suitcase. If I decrease the stuff I'm trying to put in, that's the sugar that's rolling around outside my blood, right? Remember, that's what's going on. The sugar that's rolling outside my blood. If I decrease that, then one, I don't have to produce, my body doesn't have to produce insulin to bring the blood sugar down. And I don't have to take a medication that's forcing my body to produce insulin to bring the blood sugar down. You guys get that? So that's why these are the very first medications we want to try to get rid of. And in order to get rid of them, we've got to put some things in place that lowers the blood sugar so that we don't need the insulin. Got it? So our plan, even though the plan is that we're treating diabetes and the plan is that we are trying to get the blood sugar down or trying to get the insulin to go away, the way that we do that is by not needing the insulin. Now, here's a thing I have a conversation with my patients a lot. So I write a prescription for some medication, right? And I'm talking now specifically for diabetes. Or I write a prescription for some device. Like I have these devices here that we'll do a show at some point so you can see the devices and the apps that I use. And the insurance doesn't cover it. Because as you know, insurance doesn't cover everything. Not everybody's insurance covers everything. And the patient comes in and they complain. They say, man, I needed that, whatever the medication is, and I can't get it because the insurance company doesn't cover it, right? And they're mad at the insurance company, which makes sense because, first of all, I am paying money to the insurance company for my prescription coverage, and then they decide which ones they want to cover. But that's right, another conversation. But I say, one way you can stick it to the insurance company? Right? Anybody? Can you tell me, put in the chat one way you can stick it to the insurance company. That's right. Type it in. What do you think? How can it stick it to them? Okay, I'm going to tell you. How about not needing the medication? Because if lower or get off the... Just Teresa, yes, that's what I'm saying right there. So if you're not on the medication, if you're not on the drug, then it doesn't matter if they cover it or not. But sometimes we get bent out of shape. And now, once again, I'm talking specifically diabetes. Now, you may have some other condition that requires a medication that you have to be on, like a type 1 patient who has type 1 diabetes. And notice when I started, I said we're talking about type 2 diabetics. We're not talking about getting type 1 diabetics off of the insulin, because we can't do that yet. Right? We're talking about type 2 diabetics. If they don't cover it and you're not on the medication, it doesn't matter. So your goal is to not need the medication. And so that's what we're doing, saying, hey, there are these medications here that I'm on. How do I decrease my requirement on that medication? I got to lower my blood sugar. How do I lower my blood sugar? I've got to do the things that are necessary to get it down. Now, why did I pick fasting as the first tool that I taught you? I picked fasting as the first tool that I taught you because fasting is relatively simple. Right? So if I say to you, hey, I want you to, for the next 30 days, I want you to cut the amount of food that you eat by 35 grams of carbs per day, or I want to cut back 500 grams of carbs, 300 grams, whatever the number of grams of carbs per day. So for 30 days, you're going to go and you're going to get your food and you're going to say, oh man, is this 30 grams? Is this 50 grams? Is this 100? Is this 1800 calories? Oh man, I ate half a cookie. Is that half a cookie like 2 calories or 10 calories or 5 calories? Okay, I'm going to go exercise. I'm exercising. Oh, did I exercise 500 calories, but I ate 600 grams or calories? Right? Do you see? Not that it can't be done, and there are a lot of apps that we use. Once again, I will show you some apps that I use. But yes, perfectly doable. There are a lot of people who do that. I've got some folks in my that I see, that I work with, and they are meticulous, y'all. When I say meticulous, like if there is an extra crumb of cookie on the plate, they've recorded it. They can tell you to the second how long they exercise. They can tell you, how many drops of sweat they wiped off. They are on it, and they are grinding, and they are doing it, right? They're in their peak, and they love that. That's what they do. But for all the rest of us, and I'm putting myself in the category of all the rest of us, to be able to do that, right? And to be able to sustain it, because remember, we're not doing anything just for today or tomorrow or even for this year. We're doing something that we want to do forever. To be able to do that can be sometimes challenging. And let's just say that, okay? One of the issues with the way we manage diabetes, the way we manage weight, is we pretend that all the stuff that we talk to people about is simple and easy. That, it's kind of like Superman. Like you step in the phone booth, right? And you come out the other side. Or you close the door and you come out and you're like changed. Right? And I want to say to you that that's not the case. It doesn't happen like that. It starts and stops. In fact, let me go back and show you, and you guys have seen this graph before. And I continue to show this graph because it is an example, y'all, of my struggle. Okay? And the struggle that I have has to do with weight. Okay, so I want you to watch that. Right? I want you to watch that. And this is now, let's see, that's 2020. So ups and downs, y'all, ups and downs. And sometimes look at that, way up there, and then we come down and we go up and we go down and we go up and we go down. Right? And so we pretend when we talk to people that, oh yeah, just go home and do this. Because life happens. Life happens. And we will share some of life happening with you guys as we go through the year. So the reason I chose fasting is because let's assume that you decided you're going to implement, and this is what I'm proposing to all of you as we begin. And I challenged you last week to go ahead and begin working towards being able to fast for a 24-hour period once a week. 24-hour period. Because for that 24-hour period, you don't have to worry about which calorie I'm eating or how many calories. Or did I cut back 1 calorie? Did I cut back 2 calories? Did I cut back 3? Did I eat, right? So you don't have to worry about that. 24 hours. You don't have to buy any equipment. There's one that I'm going to propose that you get. But it doesn't cost any money. It's free. There's no food. People say, oh, I'm going to join Weight Watchers and I'm going to join. And that's fine. Do you know why Weight Watchers works? Because it's calorie restriction. What better way to restrict calories than to not eat? That's the ultimate calorie restriction, y'all. You could do that at your house. You could do that on your job. You can do that on vacation. You can do that when nobody knows. You can tell everybody in the world that you're doing it, or you don't have to tell anybody. It doesn't cost you any money. So imagine what happens to your blood sugar level if you don't put any food in for 24 hours. Right? The blood sugar goes down. If the blood sugar goes down for 24 hours, the body doesn't have to produce that much insulin. And if you do that, maybe that day you don't have to take any medication. So simple process. Now, there's a nuance to that we'll have to talk about, right? And notice I say I want you to do this at least one 24-hour period per week, right? So that's 4 days out of the month that you're fasting. During the fast, there are some things that you're going to be paying attention to, right? You're going to be paying attention to how your body responds to stress, how your body responds to fatigue, how your body responds to the habits that you have, right? Because there are some times when you're fasting, you're not going to be hungry, but you're going to be pulled to eat. And you're being pulled to eat because everybody at your job just got up and they're going to eat. Right? We've been socialized. You're pulled to eat because you're up late at night working on a project. And while you're working on a project, you want your mouth to be moving. You want to be doing something, right? So we're programmed to eat. You eat because you're stressed. Oh, I can't think about that right now. You walk into the kitchen, into the pantry, grab a bag of chips. So during that 24-hour period, you're going to be learning your body. You're going to be learning the signals. What are the things that push you to do and eat various things? So 24-hour period. Now, let me say to you that the 24-hour once a week is just a start. Okay? But for some of you right now, you're on one glipizide, you're on one glimepiride, you're on one glyburide, right? You take, a 100 milligrams of sitagliptin, which is, one of the, I guess I'll start calling let me just say it. So you're taking a small dose of Januvia or Onglyza or one of those. And when you fast for that 24 hours, your average blood sugar becomes what you need it to be. Your A1C drops. Your insulin level goes down. Your hunger begins to improve. You start to lose some weight. Simply by decreasing how much stuff you're trying to put into the suitcase. You guys like that? Right? Decreasing the stuff you're trying to put into the suitcase. Okay. So what diabetes medication can you stop? Well, that's the class. Those are the classes. Right? Boom. And let me do one thing here. And boom. So, what is your plan? Or what do I want you to do? All right. What do I want you to do? Hang out for just a minute and I will tell you. In the meantime, I want to do a little commercial here, y'all. So if you are out there, right, if you have not done so, if you've not shared with the people in your lives what we're doing, what I'm doing here on the channel, I want you to do that. All right? I want you to let them know that here on this channel, the goal for this year is to get off diabetes medication, to put their diabetes in remission. And for those people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome, those people who are overweight or obese, those people who have metabolic syndrome, those people who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, they're at risk for coronary artery disease, they've had a stroke, this information works for them as well, right? So my first ask for you is that you share this with them, right? Put this video, right? All the videos that we've done so far, and I want you to look at the shows that we've done where we walk through the fasting. And the first tool that we used, the first tool that we taught you was the fasting, right? There are a lot of other things we're going to come back. We're going to add some more things to the fasting. But I've taught that first because it is free in a simple way to begin decreasing the amount of insulin that we have in the body. Because remember, that is the goal. Everybody's going to talk to you about blood sugar, blood sugar, blood sugar. That's fine. But our goal first, decrease insulin. And we decrease insulin by doing things to stop putting more sugar in the body. That's the thing. Okay. Also, if you've not done so, you can get over to our website. That's Dwain Woode, MD. Get over to the website, and on the website you'll see so many different things that we have there. One of the things that we're very proud of is our course, right? The Unmasking the Sweet Truth About Sugar, right? So we're just talking about sugar. So great course for you to be able to tap into. It's a self-paced course that you can go through. So we're learning all about sugars, and you begin to. There's a workbook that goes with it. You get a certificate at the end of the course. If you would like to work with me on a more personal level, you can sign up for our coaching program. By the way, we will be talking more about some classes, and I want you to keep an eye out, because at the end of mid to end of February, we're going to have an opportunity for you to come on with me, right, as a group, and we will walk through and talk through some of the things that you have specifically in your health, right? So we're going to do some additional teaching there. The other thing that we're proud of is our the blog that we have. And so the blog is a supplement to all the things that we do here on the channel. Okay. So, so many different topics that we have out there, wonderful information. And then of course, our podcast, which comes out on Friday, Do You Know, with Dr. Dwain Woode. Okay. All right. So many different things that we're doing. And then if you see me out in the social space, Dwain Woode MD, I want you to make sure that you connect with me, that you say hello, let me know that you're out there, drop me a line. If you're watching this on the replay, put #replay in the chat, so that we can begin talking with you and go from there. Okay. So just very excited that you all are out there. So let's see, what else? So remember, the first show that we talked about are what are the steps that you need to do to prepare for this, right? So go back and watch that show. The second one was what do we need to, the fasting, right? So the challenge there is to begin incorporating fasting. Get to the point where you can fast for 124 hour period. Okay. That's our chat ask for last week. Okay. And so one of the things that I'm excited about is, if you have been watching us last year, we did several on the shows. We talked about what we call the thought of the day. Okay, the thought of the day. And I think that was a very good process that we did. And so we're going to bring that back. We're also going to have some question and answers that we do. But if you have some things that let me back up. Part of the process of managing diabetes is to take care of our overall health. Talking about things like sleep and stress and motivation and mindset. Okay? So I want you to make sure that you are taking care of the entire you. So let's talk about our thought of the day. And the quote for our thought of the day today is, life is not merely being alive, but it's being well. Life is not merely being alive, but it's being well. In the context of diabetes management, this takes on a special meaning. Let's talk a little bit about that. What it truly means to be well, not just in body, but in every aspect of our lives. Right? In managing diabetes, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, blood sugar levels, medication doses, physical symptoms. But wellness is more than just physical health. It's about mental health. It's about emotional health. It's about social connections. It's about finding joy in everyday life. How can we shift our focus from merely surviving, as Maya Angelou said, to truly thriving? What we want to do is we want to integrate and implement several things. So one is mindfulness, and the other is taking care of our emotional well-being. Living with diabetes can be stressful, and the stress can affect blood sugars. It can cause it to go up, literally, y'all. And it can affect overall health. Stress can cause high blood pressure. Stress can lead you to the point where you can actually have a stroke. Integrating mindfulness into your practice of living is like medication. You can do meditation. You can do deep breathing. They can help to manage stress. And then acknowledging and addressing our emotional health is critical. Building a supportive community, and we've talked about that. Wellness thrives in community, sharing experiences like we're doing right now, looking for support, learning from others, letting other people let you know what they do. How are they being successful on their journey with diabetes? Whether it's joining a diabetes support group, participating in a community event, or simply connecting with friends and family, building a supportive network is a key element to wellness. As we come to the end of this thought, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on your own wellness journey. What steps can you take today to enhance not just your physical health, but your overall well-being? Remember, being well is a holistic journey, one that encompasses mind, body, and spirit. Let's take these steps together. And that is our thought for today. Yeah. All right. So our challenge for today, what do I want you to do? I want you, if you are currently on any secretagogue, that's a medication that we talked about tonight, or you're on insulin, right? You guys knew that part was coming. Okay. If you're on a secretagogue, one of those medications, or you're on insulin, I want you to talk to your healthcare provider and say to them, hey, I want to get off of this medication. How can I do that? Or better yet, I want to get off of this medication. This is what I plan to do. Right? So if you're one of my patients, come to me with a plan. You're hearing my plan for you right now. A big part of the plan is integrating fasting into your regimen. Come to me, say, hey, Dr. Woode, I'm on glipizide, glyburide, glimepiride. I'm on Januvia. I'm on Onglyza. I'm on Acini. I'm on Tridenta. Whatever the medication is. I'm taking insulin. I want to be able to get off of it, and this is my plan. I'm going to be fasting 24 hours a week, right? For 1 day a week, right? Let's see what that does to blood sugars. Now, I'm going to pause here and I'm put a big pin, a huge pin. If your A1C is high and your blood sugar is in the 300-400s, don't have that conversation with me because you're not there. Right? Remember, we got to save you first. Okay? So what are the things that you're putting in place to get to the point where we can say, hey, let's get rid of this medication? But if your A1C is 14, your blood sugars are running 400-500, yeah, you need insulin. And then now let's talk about, okay, how do we not put more stuff in the suitcase? Right? So we got to put this in perspective. And don't get upset with your healthcare provider if they say to you, hey, your blood sugars are too high right now for us to attempt this. Let's put some other things in place. That may mean, right? That may mean that you got to fast longer, y'all. You have to fast longer. All right. So starting tomorrow night, I am going to be entering the fourth. Is it the fourth for this month? Yeah, I guess it is the fourth for this month. 72-hour fast. Okay. And we'll share that data with you, share that information with you as we go. All right. Let's see. Let's back up over here. And I told you I was going to come back and let's see what my blood sugars are on the meter. It's 131. On the Dexcom and on the Libre, it's 111. And let's hop over here and let's do this really quickly. Let's see what so this is our keto strip. So we're going to see what our ketones are. And they're probably going to be low because my blood sugars are in the 111s. Let's see. So we got our little drop of blood, and I didn't poke quite enough, but that's okay. I think this will work. Suck that in. Okay. And then while that's doing, I'm going to try to see if I can massage another drop of blood, because we're going to need that for the actual blood sugar. So my ketones, oh, okay, 1.1. That's good. I expected it to be a little lower, but I had a sensible lunch, y'all. Well, I thought it was. And then now let's check the blood sugar. Yeah, let's get that. Okay, so 109, right? That's kind of in keeping with what the other monitors are saying, right? So this one says 111. So now let's hop over to our Keto Mojo app, right? And let's get that to, it'll suck it in here in a minute. Okay, so glucose of 109 and ketones of 111. Let's look at our graph. And you'll see there that my blood sugar, so ketones are low, right? I mean, lower. And then my blood sugar is high. So right now, I am not in ketosis. And we'll talk more about ketosis as we go on, because one of the benefits of fasting, y'all, is ketosis. And what that means is that we force the body from burning sugar. So this is the other piece, and we'll spend more time with this. We're forcing the body to stop using sugar because it burns it all up. And then it forces it to use fat from the fat cells. And when that happens, y'all, this happens. Oh, yeah, I said, when that happens, this happens. All right. So remember, that's the weight fluctuating. And I want you to see the end of that graph right there. Right. So this right here, that was in March of this year. Or last year, March of 2023. And this was this morning. March of 2023. This morning. Okay. So not only are we managing blood sugar, right? Because some of you out there, you're like, well, blood sugar. Yeah. Not only are we managing blood sugar, but look at that. We're managing weight as well. Okay. So if you're struggling with your weight, don't discount what we're talking about because you say, I'm not diabetic. Oh, yeah. Some of these tools, a lot of these tools, most of these tools are very applicable to you as well. Awesome. All right. So let's see. If you guys have any questions, and I guess I should have been saying that the whole time, you can drop those in the chat. And we will get to those. Go ahead and, even after the show is over, hashtag, if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag replay. If you have comments, if you have questions, go ahead and drop those in the chat as well, in the comments, and we will get to those. There were some comments that we had before that I will, if you have not heard from me, go ahead and just drop it again, but I'm working on getting to those. I think a lot of you have appreciated this space that we're in, these conversations, and I'm very excited for that. I'm very appreciative and very excited to hear from you, right? Let me know some of the things that you want to hear. We've got a plan on what we're going to do, but we can always incorporate your questions into those as well. And let me see, there was, I do want to go here and say to you that all of the shows that we are doing in this series, and keep getting these messages pop up, are in the playlist, How to Put Your Diabetes in Remission. Right. So if you're looking for these shows, so that's our very first show. What are the first steps? Is that second one down there? Let me move it up. Yeah, there we go. What are the first steps? Okay. And then let's see. This is the one. I'm going to move it all the way up to the top. Well, not to the top, but down here. Okay. Right. So those are the first three. And then the others that you see down there, those are the check-ins that I've been doing with the fasting. Okay. So all the things that pertain to this series that we're doing, you're going to be able to find them in the How to Put Your Diabetes in Remission. All right. Cool. All right. Let's see. I think I heard a pops. Let me see. So Teresa said, I appreciate this very much. Learning a lot. Teresa, thank you for saying that. And I'm glad that you are learning. Now, let me ask a question for you guys. So our pillar, let's see, where can I do that? I'm going to go to this one right here. I think this one. Yeah. Right. So our pillars, right? So educating, empowering, encouraging. So we get education, right? That's what we're doing here. There are other places that you'll get in education through our shorts and so forth. Empowerment. These are the tools that we're giving you, right? The fasting. Why do we fast? This plan for, okay, what are the first steps, right? So all those things, those are tools. And then saying, hey, go to your doctor, and this is the plan that I want you to outline for them, right? Those are the tools. And then, of course, the encouragement comes from the community. And so I'm thinking of either a Facebook group where we can do, where I would come in maybe, I don't know, once, I don't know how many often. And so we can actually be in the Facebook group, maybe in a Zoom. And that's what we're going to be having actually in February, end of February, beginning of March, where you can actually interact with me and have conversation. So what I'll probably do is I'll go live on the show. You'll be in Zoom. We can talk. I have a friend who does that with his group. If you think that's a good idea, just let me know. Say yes. Say that's a good idea. We'll ask, we'll send out, we'll get some more feedback from other people on what they think, how they think that will work. Okay. All right. So as always, I am here because I love doing what I do. And you guys actually get a snapshot into my life. People say, why do you do this? I say, I do this because it's therapy for me. It's therapy for me, right? So I get you guys keeping me accountable. I get to share knowledge with you, and I get to hang out with you. I mean, I love just hanging out with you and being here and doing this. Okay. So next week, we're going to continue the medication trend, and we're going to talk about, hey, now that we've talked about some medications we need to get off of, what are some medications we probably should think about getting on as we get into this process? And the reasons I think about that. I think that's be a good idea, right? Because you're saying, wait a minute, Dr. Woode, we're trying to get off medication. Why are you trying to get us on some medication? Well, there's a method to the madness. Okay. So one, the first steps, make sure you watch that video. Number 2, fasting. We're going to do 24 hours once a week. Number 3, talk to your doc about getting off of any of these secretagogues and insulin, and then come back next week. We'll talk about some things that I think you should be on. All right. And so I see some things out of here. Gary says, yes, sounds great. Sounds good. Mr. Riley says, sounds good, doc. And Teresa says, good idea. So I like that. Okay. So we're the quorum right here. So we made that decision. Okay. Well, guys, thank you. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level, creating the life you've always wanted. And in this year, y'all, new year, new you. Good night. We'll see you next time.